Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world, and welcome back to the Rebel, Reject, Create podcast. And today we are speaking to creative breakthrough catalyst and author Michael Lee. Michael, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you, David. It's really a pleasure to be on here finally.
Finally, I know it's terrible. Should have been in season two already. But anyway, we have a very good reason for talking today because you just recently published and launched a new book.
Yes, sir. World Innovators Cup. Yeah.
World Innovators World Cup.
World
Now,
Innovators Cup.
World Innovators Cup. Jeez, I can't even get the title right. Obviously, we're in a World Cup year, and innovators change the world every single day. But what was your thinking behind this idea of portraying innovative thinkers as football stars? It's a really off the wall creative idea.
Well, as most creative ideas, that at least in my world, the idea comes before I understand why I did it.
Right.
Um, I just had the idea during the last World Cup to make these trading cards and put them on LinkedIn of famous innovators because that's what I do, right? I deal with innovation and creativity. So I thought, let me put this thing of famous innovators playing soccer like they're World Cup players. And it was just an idea that I had, and I just did it. Afterwards, I realized that what I was doing was, trying to make a point that people who change the world, people who are the most important people in history, really, are not given as much excitement and credit and so on as famous athletes are.
Right.
So basically, if there's a logic behind it, that's it. It's try to make these famous innovators as exciting and appealing and successful as, Lionel Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo or the other Ronaldo or, you know,
Or the other Ronaldo.
Maradona. Like this is these idols of sports um, get a lot more credibility than, Frida Kahlo or
Hmm.
Albert Einstein or you know Gandhi or any of the people that innovated our world.
Right. Okay. So for those people who haven't had a chance to see the book anywhere beforehand, we've got a link under the in the show notes so you can go and check it out and order it online. But maybe you can give us an example of one innovator that you've chosen for the book and kind of talk us through the twist that you're putting on this.
Sure. So one of the innovators that is very famous is Nikola Tesla. People love Tesla. He's one of the innovators in the book that gets named the most by others. He is playing a striker for Serbia, and he appears in a Yugoslavia game in the 1930 World Cup. Um, when he was already quite advanced in age, but ends up playing in the same stream as Thomas Edison. But they don't face each other. But Edison and Tesla did face each other in the Clash of Currents many years before that when they were both younger. And Edison was given his lunch by Tesla in that game. Unlike in reality, on the soccer field, Tesla won.
Right. Right. Okay, cool. I like this. Now, this book hasn't come out of nowhere for you, has it? I mean, you've been working with the theory and the practice of creativity for a very long time. What brought you specifically to the idea of putting out books that deal in some way with creativity and innovation?
It's a great question. It's really a synthesis of my life. I was a writer, a full-time like novelist and a literary editor in my early 20s. I wrote a couple of big novels that I never published because I actually lost them. I really actually physically lost them. And this is, of course, in the day when there was no cloud. And so the I lost the printed copy and the digital copy got corrupted, and then I had another digital copy on what was it called? It was a kind of hard drive we don't have anymore. And then by the time that I realized I'd lost the other one, I couldn't get it off of that drive, and it just became a story of like Ernest Hemingway's Lost Suitcase. I shifted from there into becoming a television director. and kind of left writing behind. Although then I ended up writing films, and then at the end of the day, I've come back around to writing books, and it's kind of a full circle synthesis of the world of creativity and innovation training that I've been involved with, and that literary background. So
Right.
I've kind of come back together. So I've written a bunch of books, regarding creativity and innovation in different ways, but this is the first one that I've managed to put out. Um,
Okay.
Man, is it a lot of work to put out a book?
Man.
Writing a book is easy.
If only more people knew that. Um, so why? Why this preoccupation with creativity and therefore innovation? What is it that drives you to be spending so much time and effort diving into this?
Well, again, I think for me, it's more of a thing that just happened, and then afterwards I understand it.
Mm,
I was, a television director and doing reality TV and documentaries, and I was asked to start a film school in Johannesburg at an existing sound engineering academy. And so, in developing that school, we put creativity in as a separate training stream, like not, the creativity of being a director of photography or a producer or anything, but the creativity of being a creative person.
mm,
And we actually used The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron at first.
yeah,
And I was hired to go to Nigeria to do a big reality show there, their biggest homegrown reality show called Goulder Ultimate Search. And I was gone, and when I was away, we hired somebody else to replace me to teach the creativity course, and he had written his own book.
right.
So he taught from that book, but then when I got back, they replaced me into the class, but the timing was so short, we couldn't get the Cameron book for all the students. So I had about a month in which I had to write all the curriculum again without that book.
Ah,
Now I could have just copied the book and just done the exercises without the book. But that seemed a bit twee and maybe not very effective. So instead, I started studying for that month everything I could about creativity that I didn't already know, and managed to write over the course of that course. I managed to write a curriculum for creative training
right.
that was new and that drew a lot from Julia Cameron's basis, but was very different, kind of filled in blanks that she didn't have there and made it much more distinct in terms of each step of the process. And as a result of that, we taught creativity that way from now on after that. And then eventually I got, sort of tired of just teaching tertiary students and wanted to get and make a difference in the quote unquote real world. And so I started doing training for companies and people outside of school.
Right.
And that hopefully answers your question.
Well, it answers the how. And I think it's now been long enough that you probably have a why as well. So why is it so important to do this?
Well, creativity is the most important thing in the world, as you well know.
Mm,
It's the most important skill, according to LinkedIn, that you can have in business. It's the skill of the future, according to Forbes. It's the World Economic Forum has consistently put it, depending on the year, between the top, 3 and 5 skills in the world. And actually, at the latest one, I think it was 7 skills that relate to creativity and innovation out of the top 10.
yeah.
So it's an important thing, and people, we've lost our creativity that we had by our birthright. Like most people, when I say we, I don't mean you and me, David, of course, because we, of course, are creative geniuses. But um, the average person has lost their creative genius that they did have at the age of 5 or 6,
Yeah.
and so getting that back is really critical to the world because like all those sources I've quoted, have said, creativity is the way forward in our world with all the changes happening so fast, with all the, incredible amount. The statistic that blows my mind is how much percent of the world's information today was there a year ago.
Mm.
Any idea?
Wow. I've been following that incremental change curve for a while, but I'm now behind the curve. So no, I don't know.
Well, I'm behind the curve too on a statistic because this is for about two or 3 years ago.
Right.
But 2 or 3 years ago, it was 90% of the world's information was new in the last year. Only less than 10% was there a year ago. I think it's probably less than that now. It's probably more like 5% was there a year ago. So the point is that, the amount of information we're dealing with all the time, 5 years ago, 50% of what a person knew then is useless now. It's probably also accelerating to the point where that's going to happen every year, that
Yeah.
50% of what you know is useless. Um,
Wow.
so so creativity is really important because we have to look for new ways to solve things, to solve new problems all the time. And if people don't have that problem solving ability that creativity gives us, then we will not succeed to survive as a human race, and AI will
Right.
take over.
So it's existential, actually.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like the way you phrase that. I flirted with a really big way of saying how important it is, but I've never used the term it's existential. I think I might just have to steal that from you. Yeah, because without the human creative capacity, it's all just data, right? Then it's all just algorithms, predictable patterns, and nothing really changes, does it?
Well, that's the thing about when we talk about AI, right? The interesting thing about AI is that it appears to be very creative, and I used AI a lot in my work today. In terms of helping me generate some ideas, think about structure, um, critique what I've done in writing. Like it really is strong in editing and critiquing.
Hmm.
It really is strong, and it's probably stronger than most human editors who have a certain bias, who might get lazy, who might get distracted, and who cost money and who take time.
Yeah.
Instead, I can go to ChatGPT or Claude and put in my, work and have an edited or an editorial brief given back to me in minutes. It does take minutes sometimes because it really thinks, but I mean, it doesn't really think, obviously, but it really processes. And the point I'm getting at to answer your question is that it is all driven by algorithms and predictability. And, I still don't quite understand how this works, but there is, AI is driven by predicting the next word, it's not actually coming up with a concept. It's predicting what word should come next based on what it's written so far.
Yeah.
And somehow that comes up with amazing insights and clarity and, makes a lot of mistakes, but it also gets a lot right. And what it doesn't have is it doesn't have instinct. It doesn't have a sense of taste. Like it doesn't really know if something's good or not. It
Right. Yeah.
it can tell you that the writing could be made better by changing this or that. It can tell you that you're probably being too aggressive in your language, for the audience you're trying to reach, or you're writing too eruditely and too, philosophically elevated for the people that are reading that particular magazine that you've told that you're writing for. But the bottom line of it is it's still just an algorithm
Yeah.
that's predicting what it should say based on what it said and based on information that's existing already.
Yeah.
Human beings, we are not algorithms. We are
Unpredictable sometimes.
unpredictable, and often, like I said, for me, I do things that I don't know why I'm doing them at all, and only learn why I'm doing them afterwards. So I don't think AI can do that. It can't discover why it did something later. It
Hmm.
knows why it's doing something while it does it because that's why it does it. And that's one of the big differences. I've got to speak on a panel at the creativity conference coming up soon at the date of our recording here. And I'm speaking on a panel about is AI creative? So I've got
Right.
some work to do to really get that right so I don't look dumb next to the others in the panel. But
Yeah. Because
but
on
I
a
think,
certain level, it is
know,
creative, right? I mean, it's joining the dots and it's coming up with new answers, but
yeah,
only up to a certain level.
yeah. On a certain level, it is very creative. It can write stories.
Yeah.
It's gotten scary how much better it's gotten in the past year.
Yeah.
I mean, ChatGPT, I would never trust it with writing anything. Now I've actually had it write things, and I mean, you know, it's predictable. It's got some really turgid prose. The dialogue it writes is usually really bad, and very like on the nose. But it's still writing a story, you know? It
Yeah.
still writes a poem. It's better than probably 90% of the people that would write a story or a poem. I'd rather read that than 90% of what people try to do, you know? Um, so it's definitely creative at a certain level, but there's a level at which the great leaps of creativity that give us great works and great solutions and great insights to problems that are unique, that have never been thought of, that breakthrough. Definitely AI is not capable of that now.
Yeah. Yeah.
What it is very capable of is stimulating me to have a breakthrough, by giving me suggestions and ideas that I wouldn't have had.
Right.
You know.
Right. Yeah. So to circle back to your book and this idea of inspiring a better future, how in an AI-driven world where, we're reading about kids who basically can't think critically anymore, let alone creatively, because they're just outsourcing all their thoughts to AI, how do you see your book having a positive impact in an environment like that?
Well, it's funny because the book has a lot of AI pictures in it, and young people are mixed about it. Some of them love the book, and others, a little older kids that are like in high school, they look at it and go, "Oh, this is all AI. It's you're using up too much water."
Wow.
Um, but I think it does. I found that young people really find the book exciting because they, especially 12, 13, 14-year-olds, they really love the fact that it's about famous innovators that they're learning about in school, right? So they've learned about some of these people
Mhm.
and they see them in the book and that excites them. But then they see other people in the book they haven't learned about. And that also then excites them because they reckon if they're together in the same book with those other people that they've learned about, they must be important and useful people to be looking at. Yeah.
Right, right. So for anybody who's listening to this, whenever it is that they're listening to it, what is your go-to advice for anyone who feels like they need to be more creative than they currently are?
I think my favorite way to get someone more creative is to get them to do this exercise. Pick up something, David, that is in your space that you don't have to get up and leave your desk for. What is that?
A pen.
A pen. Okay, great. What could you use a pen for that's not for writing, like a normal uses of a pen? And give me five.
Well, I could, if my hair was somewhat longer, I could basically use it as a hair clip. Um, or if I'd lost my button on the top of my shirt, I could hold my shirt together. I found pens generally quite good for getting things that are stuck out of tight little spaces.
Okay, that's three good ones that are basically kind of conventional, right?
Yeah.
Give me a couple that are crazy, just completely out of the loop, like not nonsensical, crazy uses for a pen.
I don't know, ear cleaner, um, an axle for my bicycle when that breaks,
Okay.
because that just recently happened.
You use the pen as an axle for your bicycle?
No, no, but the axle of my bicycle was broken. But I did not have a pen, but I do have a bicycle repairman, luckily.
That's good because in the Netherlands, I think you need your bicycle a lot, right?
You do, yeah.
So that
Uh,
so that game is great. What I would normally do with training is get them to write 50 uses for that pen.
yeah,
And you really have to get a bit wacky by the time you get to 20 or 30, right?
yep,
Um,
absolutely.
and that is a great exercise just to practice thinking differently and doing what is the most important thing in brainstorming that usually doesn't get done, which is to come up with just crazy ideas, lots of ideas before
Yeah,
you even worry about which one to actually choose.
yeah,
And the problem with creativity that's actually arisen in our world, a lot of it is from we teach people from a young age to come up with the right answer as fast as possible,
yeah,
right? And that's this exercise helps you avoid that. It helps you think of ideas and not try to come up with the right answer until you get to the end of that exercise.
right. It's not the right answer, more answers.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Michael, we're pretty much out of time. So thanks so much for coming onto the show to chat about your book and all things creativity. Just a quick reminder about the book. Where can people find it if they're not if they can't get to a physical bookstore, or is it even in bookstores?
It's in a few bookstores. It's on Amazon and Barnes and Noble and pretty much every website that sells books. I don't know, probably in the Netherlands you have a specific store that sells books
Yeah,
that it's on.
bol.com.
Yeah, it's probably on there. It's on, those websites, but you can go to worldinnovatorscup.com. That's the website for the book, and there's buttons there that send you to Amazon and Barnes and Noble to
Cool.
exactly where the book is. So worldinnovatorscup.com.
Great.
And
I will put that
there's
in the
no
show notes.
apostrophe, obviously. It's just the word innovators.
Yeah, perfect. Michael, it's been way overdue. Thanks for coming on to Rebel, Reject, Create, and good luck with the book.